The wind screamed across the icy plain, tearing at the fuselage of the downed shuttle. Celeste Ward's visor fogged with every ragged breath as she clawed her way out of the wreckage. The world outside had no mercy. Swirling snow blinded her, and the temperature, already far below human tolerance, threatened to freeze her heart. She staggered, one gloved hand trailing across the shuttle's cracked hull for balance. Her other hand gripped the sidearm at her hip, though the weapon felt useless against the cold. She scanned the horizon, nothing but white and jagged runs of ice. Her distress beacon had gone silent the moment she hit the surface of Argyon. She was completely alone. With each step, her suit warned of lethal frostbite closing in. Her suit's heater flickered, then died. Panic clawed at her throat. She forced herself to keep moving. Somewhere ahead, a dark shape against the snow. Hope flared. Celeste reached the structure, an abandoned research outpost half buried in drift. Its doors hung open like a broken promise. She pressed against the cold steel frame, fighting vertigo. Her communicator crackled, static, then nothing. Tears froze on her cheeks. Inside, machinery hummed with residual power. Faint orange lights pulsed along the corridor, painting every surface in an otherworldly glow. She felt warmth, just enough to keep her from instantly succumbing. For a moment she allowed herself to believe she was safe. Then she heard it, a soft scrape from the darkness. Celeste raised her sidearm, breath huffing in her helmet. "Hello?" Her voice cracked. "Is anyone there?" From the end of the corridor stepped a figure tall and lithe, draped in layers of fabric that seemed to absorb the dim light. Silver hair spilled to her waist. Eyes glowed with an inner fire, an iridescent sheen that set Celeste's blood to ice even before the alien's voice cut through the stale air. "Shut up and get in my bed, human," the alien said, each word measured, commanding. Celeste froze. She glanced around. "Your bed." The alien moved forward, expression unreadable. "You're freezing to death. You will do exactly as I say." Celeste's pulse hammered. She trained her weapon, but her finger trembled. She was too weak. And the alien's aura held no malice, only cold pragmatism. "I'm Celeste Ward," she managed. "I crash-landed. Please." The alien raised a hand. "I know who you are. I have been exiled here for years. The frost will kill you in minutes. My bed is heated. Move." Celeste's suit temperature read dangerously low. There was no argument. She stumbled after the alien through winding halls to a chamber at the far end. The door sealed with a hiss. The moment they crossed the threshold, gentle warmth washed over her like a second skin. The bed was an alien construct, broad, languid curves of glowing material that radiated heat. It conformed to both their shapes, no matter how different. Celeste sank into the soft embrace, shivering as the warmth drove back the cold. The alien watched her, arms folded. "I am Inna," she said. "I was cast out by my people. You will share my bed until your body recovers." Celeste pressed her sidearm to her chest. "Why should I trust you?" Inna's lips curved in something coldly resembling a smile. "Because if you die, I die soon after. The cold here respects no master." Celeste closed her eyes, exhaustion winning. The warmth was addictive. Her mind drifted, replaying the crash, the hush of the void, the alien's imperious tone. She had been trained for survival, but never like this. Minutes passed. Her heartbeat steadied. Her suit reported life-sustaining levels once more. She sank deeper into the bed's glow. Inna knelt beside her, voice softer now. "I once fought for my people. They feared what I might become. They exiled me to die. But I survived." Celeste turned her head. "Why help me?" Inna's gaze flicked to the frozen corridor beyond the door. "This outpost holds secrets. Human or alien, I need someone with your mind to unlock them. And until then, I need your warmth." Celeste managed a weak laugh. "That's optimistic. Survival demands alliance," Inna replied. "And alliances are forged in heat and desperation." The two lay side by side, human and exile, neither fully trusting the other. But the deadly cold had forced them together. And as long as the warmth held, so did their fragile truce. Outside, the wind raged. Inside, a new chapter had begun, one of uneasy cooperation, buried secrets, and the promise that tomorrow might bring rescue, betrayal, or worse. But for now, life flickered on in the glow of an alien bed. Celeste awoke as a gentle hum pulsed through the chamber. Her suit's internal sensors chimed softly, thermal levels rising back to safe parameters. She blinked against the soft glow of the alien bed, its warmth like a cocoon around her limbs. Anna crouched at the foot of the bed, studying an unfamiliar handheld device that glimmered with alien glyphs. "You're awake," Anna said, voice low. She motioned toward a narrow alcove where a control panel stood half buried under frost. "We should explore the bunker's systems. This outpost still has power, just enough to keep the heat running. If we can stabilize the generators, we increase our window of survival." Celeste swung her legs over the edge of the bed. Her muscles ached from cold and shock, but the warmth eased the pain. "Show me," she said, her voice raspy. She set her sidearm on a small console table, though her trust was still fragile. Anna led the way down a short corridor whose walls were lined with frost-covered conduits. Each step glowed under Celeste's boots, embedded lights marking a path through the gloom. This station was built jointly by humans and hfystories engineers, Anna explained. "We studied Argion's core. They thought it held secrets to quantum fusion. Then the project collapsed." She pressed her palm to a panel. Symbols pulsed in response. "The main reactor shut down decades ago. These auxiliary lines kept a minimal reserve." Celeste crouched beside a festoon of cables. "These look corroded. How long has it been since anyone checked them?" She traced a cable with a gloved fingertip. "Years, at least. The cold eats metal like acid." Anna nodded. "I've kept myself alive repairing what I can. But my physiology differs from yours. Your human fingers will last longer on these circuits." She handed Celeste a toolkit fashioned from alien alloys. "Use this spanner to adjust the regulator here." She pointed to a small valve emitting thin riffs of steam. Celeste gripped the tool. She closed her eyes for a heartbeat, then began tightening the valve. Each turn clicked against metal, echoing in the corridor. Steam hissed louder, and the faint taste of warmth filled the air. "That should divert more power to heat exchanges," Celeste said, wiping condensation from her helmet lens. "But that'll drain backup reserves faster." Anna's pale eyes narrowed in thought. "We must balance heat with energy. Eventually, we need to reroute power to the gamma rays." She stepped back and extended her hand. "Let me override the distribution matrix." Celeste hesitated, then handed over the toolkit. "I'll watch. I've studied enough alien tech in the academy, if only in theory." Anna knelt at a triangular console. Her fingers danced over the panel, and a holographic schematic rose between them, twisting lines of energy flow, nodes glowing bright where reserves remained. "See here," Anna murmured, tracing a frozen line. "This conduit leads to the thermal regulators in the living quarters." She tapped a node. It pulsed and thawed. "We can reroute excess to these rooms, but sacrifice longer-term systems." Celeste watched the map. "And if predators or patrols come, we'll need lights and sensors to see them off." She pointed to another node labeled Security Grid. The symbol was cracked. "That's broken." Anna's jaw tightened. "I've avoided those rooms. Not just because of power outages. Something prowls the halls at night. Faint footprints, distant echoes. I thought it was my mind playing tricks, until last cycle." She stood and folded her arms. "If we repair it, we'll know what's out there." Celeste studied Anna's face in the dim light. "You've lived here all this time and never fixed security?" Anna's lips curved in a grim smile. "I was exiled. I didn't expect to host guests. Fixing sensors was low priority until you arrived." Celeste's chest tightened. "So you needed me, for warmth or for help?" Anna's gaze flickered. "Both," she admitted. "Initially, I thought you were a lost pilot who would die soon enough. Then I realized your mind could aid me, and your warmth would keep me alive longer. Survival requires mutual benefit." Celeste swallowed, remembering the cold grip of the outside world. "Alliance, then?" She reached out and tapped the schematic. "First heat, then comms, then security. In that order." Anna inclined her head. "Precisely. They worked side by side, human dexterity and alien finesse complementing one another." Celeste rerouted cryogenic vents to feed the central heating loops. Inna recalibrated energy outputs to stabilize core temperature levels. Each success brought a subtle shift in their tone, less tension, more focus on the task. As they labored, storms raged beyond the reinforced walls. The bunker groaned under the weight of ice and wind. Every repaired panel, every tightened link, reminded Celeste of how precarious their situation was. After hours, the outpost hummed with a new rhythm. Ambient lights glowed warmly along the halls. Living quarters reached comfortable levels. The comm array flickered to life, static crackling through an old receiver. Celeste's heart leapt. Inna, the distress beacon, we can try to send a signal. Inna stepped beside her at the comm console. The device looked primitive, a blend of human transmitter and alien uplink. We need a power surge, Inna said. I'll channel it through the fusion core, but it may overload nearby circuits. Celeste's brow furrowed. If it fries the system, we lose heat again. Inna held steady eyes. We risk overheating. But if we don't signal, no one will ever know we're here. Celeste exhaled and placed a hand on Inna's arm. Let's do it. They initiated the surge. Alarms squealed. Conduits glowed under stress. For a moment, the bunker lights flickered. Then the comm array emitted a high-pitched tone and began broadcasting on multiple frequencies. Celeste gripped the console. Mayday, Mayday, shuttle forging relic. Crash, Argon, coordinates transmitting. Her voice echoed in the chamber. Static filled the air, then silence. She tapped the panel. Signal sent. Inna nodded, lips pressed tight. Now we wait. She turned and looked through a reinforced viewport at the howling storm. And we prepare for what comes next. Celeste sank onto a nearby bench, fatigue coursing through her veins. The warmth of the restored heat seeped into her bones, but an uneasy chill lingered, the knowledge that somewhere in the darkness, something waited. She stole a glance at Inna, whose expression was unreadable. We did well, Celeste said quietly. Inna's shoulders relaxed fractionally. For now, she swept her silver hair behind her. But survival always demands more. Outside, the frozen planet heaved and groaned. Inside, two survivors braced themselves, one human, one exile, knowing that the uneasy warmth between them was only the beginning of an even colder reckoning. A low hum vibrated through the comm chamber as Celeste and Inna stood before the ancient transmitter. The metallic walls pulsed with residual energy, casting wavering shadows across their faces. Celeste's gloved fingers danced over the alien controls, her brow furrowed in concentration as she adapted human circuitry to hfystories technology. We need a stronger signal, Celeste murmured, tapping a delicate interface. Earth's comm satellites orbit off axis. They won't pick up a weak beacon. She pulled a slender cable from her suit pack and connected it to a fusion line that glowed a soft blue. Inna circled behind her, eyes narrowed. That conduit is unstable. If it overloads, the entire array could short. She placed a calming hand on Celeste's shoulder. But it may be our only chance. Celeste inhaled, recalling every lecture on makeshift transmissions. I've adapted battlefield comm tech before, she said quietly. We'll use cascading pulses. Short bursts to grab attention, then repeated bursts to carry data. She raised her voice over the rising hum. Ready. Inna straightened. Ready. With a quick nod, Celeste initiated the sequence. Sparks flickered at the junction, and the transmitter's primary dome lit with searing intensity. A hypnotic thrum filled the bunker as the first burst shot into the overhead network. Then another, and another, each pulse straining the outpost's brittle wiring. For a moment, everything went silent. No hum, no pulse, only the echo of their own breaths. Then a distant crack, the array groaned, followed by a shower of sparks around the secondary coils. Lights dimmed, strobing erratically. Signal compromised, Inna warned, leaping forward to reroute power. She flipped a series of alien toggles that sent excess energy back into the main conduit. The hum steadied, and the dome's glow returned to a steadier, deeper blue. Celeste rubbed her temples. We got through, she breathed. Could you feel that? The pulse resonance that matched deep space frequencies. Inna closed her eyes, listening. Yes. It resonated across multiple layers of the ether. They'll hear us. She opened her eyes, expression relieved but wary. But we must hide the secondary trail. Any hostile presence monitoring Argon will detect our location. Celeste nodded and began throttling down the visible energy signature, rerouting residual power to the bunker's life support. Let's seal off the external sensors and clear the corridors, she suggested. We'll need time before anyone arrives. They sprinted back through the illuminated halls. Celeste's stomach knotted with anticipation. As they moved, flashbacks flashed through her mind. The crash, the rattling descent, the shuttle's hull shuddering against Argion's atmosphere. She remembered the panic that roiled through her squad when the distress beacon sputtered and died. Now they had a new chance. But the price of hope on a world so cruel was peril. In the central corridor, Inna slid her palm across a biometric scanner. A hidden panel swung open, revealing a narrow maintenance tunnel. This will mask ion trails for a short while, she explained. We can observe from here. They crept into the cramped passage. Pipes dripped condensation at their feet. The tunnel's walls were scrawled with incherii sigils, diagrams of cosmic storms and containment wards. Inna paused before one glyph, tracing it with a fingertip. This ward was designed to delay detection of energy signatures, she said softly. We may gain half an hour before they hone in. Celeste leaned against the wall, heart pounding. Half an hour is barely enough, she whispered. But it's what we have. She peered around the corner of the tunnel, toward the main hall, where alarms had begun to echo faintly. Inna's eyes flashed. They're here, she said. Hunters. Her voice was low, edged with steel. They've tracked my exile for cycles. Now they'll find me. And you too. Celeste unslung her sidearm. We fight. Inna shook her head. Not yet. First, we lure them away. She pressed a panel on the wall. A metallic voice crackled overhead in a harsh alien tongue. Lights flickered red, and the main doors to the comm chamber sealed with a pneumatic hiss. Security lockdown to assist research protocols, Celeste translated. That should buy us a minute. They sprinted down a side passage, emerging into the living sector. Empty sleeping pods lined the walls, their doors sealed. Frost had begun to creep along the edges, but the heat from the repaired generators kept the bulk of the sector safe. We can draw them here, Inna said, nodding toward a large observation window overlooking the ice fields. They'll come through the main entrance. Celeste studied the crimson alarms as they swept across the corridor. Good, she murmured. We prepare a trap. They barricaded the nearest hatch with an overturned supply crate and linked a fuselage panel across the hatchway. Inna jammed the panel into place with a power tool, sparks flicking across her gauntlet fingers. Celeste rigged a proximity charge from leftover demolition caps in her kit, attaching it to the hatch's locking mechanism. When they break through, boom, Celeste said. They'll be stunned long enough for us to slip away. Inna's lips curved in a tight smile. Your creativity is admirable, human. She crouched beside the charge. But I have another plan. Celeste raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. Inna tapped into her wrist console. A faint pulse ran through the bunker's ventilation ducts. This system contains a potent hallucinogen used to quell riots on my home world. If we release it into the vents, she paused, voice tight. They won't fight intelligently. Celeste's eyes widened. You'd risk contaminating the entire station. Inna shook her head. Ventilation is sectional. We target the main hall only. They'll be incapacitated, not killed. It's non-lethal, just enough to disorient them. Celeste weighed the choice. Better than a trap that could fail. She nodded slowly. Do it. Inna executed the command. A low hiss issued from the ducts as pale mist spread into the corridor beyond the hatch. We then slip into the maintenance shaft above the comm array, she said. Make our escape to the glacier caves. Celeste closed her eyes, heart racing with adrenaline and dread. If we survive this, I owe you my life. Inna reached out, squeezing Celeste's arm. And I, yours. Her silver hair drifted in the faint breeze of the ventilation. Now stay close. As the mist seeped into the halls, they slipped back to the comm chamber. The transmitter's dome still glowed, a fragile beacon of hope. But beyond the reinforced doors, the enemy advanced in oblivion, setting the stage for a desperate flight into the storm. The corridor beyond the hatch rattled as heavy boots thundered against the metal floor. Celeste pressed herself against the bulkhead, breath shallow, listening to ragged alien voices echoing through the vents. Enna's jaw clenched. The hunters had arrived. Each step carried the weight of Enna's past, ghosts she had tried to bury in the endless ice. "They're here," Enna whispered, voice tight as frozen steel. Her silver eyes blazed in the dim light. "Chrysar leads them. He was once my lieutenant, my friend, until I refused the order." Her fingers curled around Celeste's arm. "He'll know me." Celeste swallowed. "What do they want?" Enna's lips curved in a hard line. "My capture. They believe I betrayed our people. Now they seek to reclaim me or kill me." She brushed a lock of hair from her face. "And they'll kill you once they learn you helped me." Celeste checked the proximity charges timer. 30 seconds. She nodded to Enna. "We buy time. Then we slip out the maintenance shaft to the glacier caves." Enna offered a brief, grim smile. "Agreed." They crouched behind the sealed hatch, hands trembling. Beyond, the metallic hiss of the hunters' breaching lasers began. The hatch groaned and split. Shards of metal flew outward as the charge detonated. A thunderous boom rocked the corridor. The charge blew the hatch inward, sending 2 hunters tumbling into the trap doorway, stunned by the concussive blast. Masked figures lunged at the hallucinogen mist, coughing and staggering, disoriented. "Now," Enna shouted. She hauled Celeste through the breach, bodies pinned against the wall by the force. Sparks rained from ruptured conduits. Celeste's boots skidded as she darted down a narrow ladder into the maintenance shaft. "Incas, no." Enna's silver braid was brushed back as she followed, pressing a final panel to seal the hatch behind them. The muffled cries of the hunters and the thrum of the trap receded. Inside the shaft, the heat was gone. Only the faint hum of residual power and the hiss of frost forming on the walls remained. Celeste felt the chill bite again, but adrenaline kept her limbs moving. She traced her memory to the exit point, a small service hatch above the comm chamber domes. Enna led, guiding them through twists and turns of pipes glistening with condensation. "We're close," she murmured. "This route bypasses the main sensors." She paused at a junction marked by an alien glyph. "This ward once sealed experiment rooms. The glyph weakens detection around us." She pressed a panel. A faint glow faded from the walls. Celeste nodded, fumbling to map the run with her gloved fingers. "The winds will cover our traces if we move fast." Enna looked back. "You must be ready." She leveled her sidearm, an elegant hfystories pistol, then slid a small blade from her boot. "I will hold them off if they follow us here. Go." Celeste's heart thundered. "I won't leave you." Enna's eyes softened for a heartbeat. "You must survive and tell our story." Celeste swallowed, voice cracking. "We survive together." Enna's silver hair shimmered. "No," she said softly, "we survive alone." Then, steel returned to her gaze. She pressed a switch and a hidden hatch slid open, revealing a vertical tunnel that led up to the surface. Celeste squeezed Enna's hand. "Thank you." Enna offered a fierce nod. "Now go." She slammed the hatch shut behind Celeste, sealing her into darkness. Celeste slid into the shaft alone, the air growing thinner and sharper with cold as she climbed. Her breath formed icy clouds in the tunnel. She emerged onto the frozen surface, the storm howling around her like a living thing. Snow whipped her face. She flattened herself against the ice and started crawling toward a jagged outcropping that led to the glacier caves Enna had described. Behind her, muffled thuds and distant shouts signaled the hunter's pursuit. She forced herself up and ran, each step a struggle as exhaustion threatened to topple her. The cave's entrance yawned ahead like a funnel into safety. Just as she reached the lip of the glacier, a piercing beam of light cut through the blizzard. Searchlights from the hunter's drop skiff. Cold metal teeth from the craft's landing skids sank into the ice. A hatch opened. Figures spilled out, weapons raised. Celeste's pulse surged. She sprinted into the cave's mouth, slipping on frost but pressing onward. The interior walls closed around her in ice-carved curves, the wind silenced into a low moan. She pressed herself against the slick wall, hiding as the searchlight swept past the entrance. Her chest heaved. She peered down the tunnel, darkness stretching into the depths. Footsteps approached, heavy, methodical. The hunters were tracking her footfalls. She gripped her sidearm, preparing for a final stand. A beam of light danced across the ice floor. One hunter knelt, scanning for heat signatures. The beam found Celeste. A halo of light illuminated her form. There, a voice barked in harsh hfystories. Celeste stepped back and rolled into a deeper side passage. The hunter cursed and fired a stunner bolt that shattered the ice where she had been. The cave reverberated with the blast. She scrambled away, guided by the faint glow of bioluminescent lichen on the walls. Every bolt shot at her masked by the cave's turns, but her suit's power was waning. The emergency heater flickered. She thought of Inna in the bunker, facing her hunters alone. Her vision tunneled with fear, but then the distant echo of a shot rang out. Celeste halted mid-crawl. The echo turned into two, then three, Inna's voice unleashed in a controlled fury. The hunter's reply was a chorus of suppressor rounds. Celeste's chest tightened. Inna was holding her ground, buying time. Summoning the last reserves of her strength, Celeste pressed against the ice, crawling deeper. The lichen's glow grew brighter ahead, a sloping chamber that led to a vertical shaft descending into the planet's heart. It was rumored to house geothermal vents that fed hidden hot springs, enough warmth to survive indefinitely. With a final lunge, Celeste tumbled into the shaft. She dropped, then landed in steaming pools, gasping as scalding mist enveloped her. Pain lanced through her cold-numbed limbs, then warmth spread like redemption. She sank to her knees, tears freezing on her cheeks. Above, in the dark tunnel, Inna's battle reached its crescendo. Each shot and flash carried through the ice. Celeste pressed her ear to the steam hiss, listening to the fight for her life. Go, human. Inna's fierce cry echoed. Live. Celeste's heart cracked. She thrust her gloved finger against the control panel beside the pool, a rusted hatch seal. If Inna escaped above, she could return here. But if not, she would at least survive. The hatch groaned open. A blinding flash of snow-white light spilled into the chamber. Celeste shielded her eyes. Footsteps approached, slow, careful. Then a familiar silhouette emerged at the lip. Inna, battered but unbowed, pistol still drawn. Her silver hair was matted with frost and dust. Scars ran dark across her pale skin. Celeste scrambled forward. Inna. Inna darted down the slope, then caught Celeste in a fierce embrace. I live, she whispered, voice ragged. We live. Celeste sobbed against Inna's shoulder, the steam swirling around them. I thought I lost you. Inna pressed a kiss to Celeste's temple. I will never leave you. She stepped back and peered into the cavern. This place, it's our refuge. Celeste nodded, pulling away. We'll signal from here. And wait for rescue. Inna's gaze drifted upward to the narrow shaft. And then we return. Together, her silver eyes gleamed with hard-won hope. For my people. And yours. In the steaming heart of Argyon, beneath the weight of exile and the ghosts of war, human and alien forged a bond stronger than ice, and stronger than any hunter's rage. Their story was far from over. Yet in that hidden sanctuary, they tasted the first promise of freedom. Celeste tightened the grip on her plasma cutter, its dull blue glow flickering against the cavern walls. Around them, steam hissed from the thermal vents, sending wisps of warmth curling into the frigid air. Inna stood beside her, breathing heavily, her silver hair plastered to her forehead in damp strands. They had survived the hunters, and now faced their greatest test, crossing the endless ice fields to reach the ancient rescue station whispered to lie atop Argyon's northern glacier. We move at first light, Inna said, voice low. She traced a rune carved into the cavern wall, a ward that would mask their exit from any lingering trackers. The storm will subside. The aurora might flare tonight. It'll make our path treacherous, but stunningly beautiful. Celeste nodded, exhaustion tugging at her limbs. Her suit's emergency heater struggled against the cold, but the pools had given them time to recharge. She lifted one hand, flexing stiff fingers. I'll follow your lead. She forced a smile. And try not to slip. They slung their packs over their shoulders, each containing minimal rations, a few power cells, and the core components of Celeste's makeshift beacon transmitter. Inna checked her own gear, an hfysci-fi field knife strapped to her thigh, a compact fusion pistol at her hip, and a rolled thermal blanket at her back. "Ready?" Inna asked. Celeste drew a breath. "Ready." They climbed the narrow shaft, scaling handholds chiseled in ice until the cavern mouth yawned above them. A raw wind buffeted their faces as they pushed free, emerging onto a shimmering plain of pale blue ice. The aurora overhead painted ribbons of violet and emerald across the sky, an ethereal glow that made the world feel both alive and alien. "It's beautiful," Celeste whispered, awed. Inna's eyes reflected the dancing lights. "A fleeting gift," she said softly. "Don't get distracted." She grasped Celeste's shoulder. "We head for that ridge." She pointed to a distant serrated line of ice spires half buried in snow. "Beyond it lies the old comm tower, and with it, a transmitter strong enough to reach human command." Celeste squared her shoulders. "Let's go." The ice fields stretched vast and merciless. Each step was a gamble. Hidden crevasses yawned beneath snowdrifts, and unpredictable thin spots threatened to swallow them whole. The wind cut through their suits, biting at exposed gaps in joints and seals. They huddled close, each shadow a potential death trap. After hours of painstaking progress, Inna halted. "Rest," she ordered. She sank to one knee, pulling out 2 glowing nutrient bars. "We keep energy up." She handed one to Celeste. "Tell me about your world," she said between bites. Celeste chewed slowly, warmth flooding her belly. "On Earth, we built cities that scrape the clouds, lights that never go out, machines that fly faster than sound. But sometimes, we lost sight of what grounded us." She swallowed. "I joined the expedition to find something beyond our world, to remember why we ventured into the stars." Inna watched her with quiet intensity. "And now I've found someone to share that discovery with." Celeste offered a tentative smile. "And someone who saved my life." Inna's stance softened for the briefest moment. Then she rose, her expression hardening. "Enjoy the warmth while it lasts." She scanned the horizon. "Storm shifting. We need to move." They pressed on, the aurora fading behind gathering clouds. The wind rose into a howl, driving spindrift into ceaseless sheets. Visibility dropped to near zero as snow swirled at knee-height. Celeste's visor fogged. She wiped it with a gloved finger. "Follow my voice," Inna shouted. Her tone was urgent, precise, like a compass through the storm. Celeste locked onto Inna's footsteps, every crunch guiding her forward. At one point, the ice beneath her gave way, and she plunged up to her waist into a hidden crevasse. She froze, panic seizing her. Inna's hand shot out, gripping her harness, hauling her free. "Thank you," Celeste gasped, chest heaving. Inna didn't answer. She scanned the sky, lightning forked within the aurora's final threads. "We're close," she finally said. "That ridge is less than a click." Celeste peered through the storm. In the distance, a jagged silhouette loomed, the spine of the glacier, serrated like a shattered crown. Relief surged through her chest, spurring her forward. They reached the base of the ridge and began the steep ascent. The ice was slick, and each foothold required drilling into frozen stone. Inna led, anchoring pitons and ropes. Celeste followed, heart thudding with fatigue and fear. As they neared the crest, a thunderous crack split the air. A section of the ridge fractured, sending a wall of snow tumbling toward them. Inna shouted and leapt aside, dragging Celeste down into a small alcove carved by centuries of melt. Snow roared overhead, then settled in a heavy hush. "We need to clear that path," Celeste panted, adrenaline surging. Inna's eyes narrowed. "That won't be possible. We find another way around." She peered at the avalanche debris. "It blocked our exit. We'll detour east." Celeste's stomach tightened. The detour added precious hours, and the storm was growing. "What if we don't make it before the sun sets?" Inna hesitated, then laid a hand on Celeste's shoulder. "We will." She drew a compact device from her pack, an hfysci-fi flare. Its casing glowed violet. "This will mark our position for rescue squads. But only after we reach the tower." Celeste watched Inna ignite the flare. Its intense beam cut through the blizzard like a spear, burning a corridor of light straight toward the glacier's peak. For a moment, the storm paused as if awed. "We move now," Anna said, voice fierce. "Every second counts." They skirted the avalanche, picking a narrow, winding path along the ridge's flank. The wind buffeted them, and the temperature plunged further. Celeste's suit alarms chirped, warning of critical frost buildup. She leaned against Anna. I can't keep up." Anna assessed her. "We slow, but we don't stop." She pulled Celeste close, pressing her body to share warmth through their suits. "I've carried myself across harsher terrain." She wrapped an arm around Celeste's waist. "Lean on me." Celeste grimaced against the cold, then nodded. Together they pressed forward, and his stride steady, Celeste's footfalls faltering. When the ridge leveled, they stood at the base of a cylindrical tower carved from ice and metal, half buried, half pristine. The tower's transceiver dishes were frosted over but intact, pointing skyward. "We made it," Celeste whispered, disbelief and relief mingling in her voice. Anna shook the frozen sheen from the main dish. "Give me your power cells," she instructed. Celeste handed over her last two. Anna snapped them into a port at the tower's base. The dish shuddered, then whirred to life, slowly turning to track the orbiting satellites. Celeste dropped to her knees, pressing her palm against the tower's frame. "Please work." The tower hummed, beams of light flickering across its panels. The storm raged, snow lashing around them, but the tower stood steady, channeling energy into a pulsing glow. Anna keyed a sequence on a handheld console. "Beacon online," she announced. Celeste's eyes welled. "We did it," she said shakily. Anna reached out and pulled Celeste close. "Now we wait." She tilted her head to the sky. "And hope they come." Between the howling wind and the crackling transceiver, the two survivors clung to one another, hearts racing beneath layers of suit and armor. The rescue they'd fought so hard to signal might come at any moment, or they might remain marooned forever. Beneath the aurora's dying light, human and alien shared a moment of fragile triumph and unspoken connection. For now, across the frozen fields, they had each other, and that was enough to face whatever tomorrow would bring.